Today, I want to talk about ArcheAge. ArcheAge Unchained, developed by Korean developers Excel Games and published to the EU and NA by Kakao Games in 2019. To give you a quick rundown on ArcheAge, it's a Korean-style MMORPG, it's tab-target combat, and it has one feature that I think deserves making a video on. There are hundreds of combinations of classes. You don't pick an archer or a warrior. There are hundreds of different class combinations that you make yourself based on the choices you make throughout the game. And I think that deserves talking about. ArcheAge Unchained is a huge PvP and PvE scene, gathering, crafting, housing, impressive life skilling system. And they just released last month their new fresh start servers. And these are filled with boosts, catch-up mechanics, and free things. So I was interested in the class system, I heard about these servers, and I thought I'd jump on, give it a try, record it, and let you all know about it. What's it like? What even is ArcheAge? And is it worth playing? As someone who's never played or followed the development of ArcheAge Unchained, let me take you on my journey as a new player and my first impressions. Before you discover this amazing, in-depth class and combat system, the amazing life skills, the naval systems, all these huge parts of the game that they sell you on, there's something you will see, and that is an absolute swarm of negative reviews around this game. At the time of making this video, ArcheAge Unchained is sitting with mixed reviews, but mostly negative in their recents on Steam. And there's the same reaction on Reddit and the forums. It's very hard to Google this game without getting some sort of negative forum or negative feedback. So, why is everyone hating on the game with so much negativity? And is it justified? ArcheAge the game was released and developed with a pay-to-win cash shop. I've done my research, but feel free to let me know in the comments if I've missed the point on this. But they then decided to redevelop as ArcheAge Unchained, a new version of the game, a less aggressive cash shop, and a free-to-play business model. And then that changed. They added a subscription, which is the main reason we're seeing negative reviews everywhere. Imagine you buy a game, you invest years of your time into the world, your character, and then you get hit with a paywall to keep playing. And that's where all of these negative reviews mostly come from. It's worth noting that they did offer free game time to old players based on how long they played, but I don't think you can ever justify adding a subscription to something that was sold or given away for free. So before you even get into this game, I had to go over this because it wouldn't have been right to talk about the game without talking about this, because it is the first thing I saw and it was very concerning to see, and it's probably the first thing you'll see. So let's get that straight out there and get into the game. So you go to download the game and it shows us free to play. I was expecting maybe a free 50 levels or a free trial similar to a lot of the big MMOs out there, or having limited content because most things are locked behind a sub. Think of like Elder Scrolls Online, how a lot of it's free and then you can get thrown into sub areas. After downloading this free game, you can't launch the game unless there's a subscription on your Kakao Games account. So yeah, that was my experience trying to get on an EU server. If you try looking at this at Steam, seeing it as free and think, I'll give it a try, it's not. You need to sub before you can play it. With that behind us, how's the game? So first you hit the servers. I loaded it up on EU and had a very small choice of servers. There were 3, New, Evo, and then a normal server. No explanation of what these were, so I assumed that New was the fresh start server and loaded in. The character creator was surprisingly good. You can pick between 2 factions. Think Alliance and Horde in World of Warcraft. You've got traditional fantasy from the Nuia, which have humans, elves, and dwarves. Think Lord of the Rings, that kind of thing. Or the more out there faction, the Hiranya, housing the Firan furries, the Hirani smaller humans, and the Warborn demon-like creatures, which I thought looked sick. The character creator was actually really good. There was some real funky stuff in here, such as, you know, the cat skeleton looking something like a horror movie, or the Warborn restricting you to either a half-dressed woman or a 300-pound Chad with nothing in between. But overall, there's a lot you can do here. Each race has lots of customization. You can make some really cool-looking characters. I decided on going for what I always go for, a slim elf caster type. So I went for like an elf sorcerer. And I got to give it credit where credit is due. As someone who loves specs, talent trees, customization, and individuality in games, this game is a 10 out of 10 in this area. Games like World of Warcraft have their branching talent trees, or they used to, coming back in Dragonflight, and specs and systems like Path of Exile with the big branching skill trees always win me over. I think they're so good and I'm all about it. So let's talk about the ArcheAge class system. As you level up, level 7 and 15, you select a 2nd and 3rd class skill set. So say at the start you pick your starting class, you pick 2 more at level 7 and 15. And you can be as creative as you want here. You want to throw fireballs and then run in with a katana, take a sorcerer and a swiftblade, and then throw in whatever you want as a 3rd. You want to do curses, summon demons, but then also be an archer, take archery, occultism, and witchcraft. And you summon Dark Ranger, And the freedom here is incredible. It deserves recognition for its creativity, freedom, and how fun it feels to play. I was blown away, and I'm going to discuss some negatives later on, but if everything else about this game was good, I would play this game, like long term. I think this is a phenomenal system. I wanted to be a traditional warlock or necromancer, so I took sorcery, witchcraft, and occultism, and they named my class the Blightcaster based on those 3 choices, and that's where the hundreds of classes comes from, because based on the 3 you pick, you get given a class name. I think this is incredible, and yeah, you spend your skill points between the 3 sets, and you can respec totally free. I played it with a friend who was a spell dancer. They took Shadowplay and Swiftblade, turning them into like a fast, nimble dancer that darted around with swords, and yeah, it just feels really good. If you're not feeling the up-close sword action, go respec, take a bow or a gun or a magic skill tree, and there it is. You just keep playing. If there ever was a reason to play Arcade Unchained, it's this system, and I really wish it was free to start, because you could go and try this right now and actually really enjoy it. The fact they've put a paywall on getting in is a bit disappointing. So we talked about the character creator, we talked about the skills and the classes in the game. Let's talk about combat. And I'm going to give you a pro here, and then I'm going to talk about a real negative down below. So let's talk about combat. I leveled to around level 30, and the combat felt great. I had curses, dark magic. I could put down empowering runes to empower my spells. I could throw ice and fire and curse my enemies, while my friend darted around like a ninja. The combat did feel fun. The uniqueness you can create and feeling that you've made this new class is amazing. The skill combos can weave in between the different classes. So if you picked a witchcraft class, and then your next one was a sorcerer, you might be able to use one spell from witchcraft and then combo it with a spell from sorcerer, and that just feels incredible. You can literally have so much freedom and so much fun combining these different trees together. I can't stress how fun this is, but there is a huge problem with the combat that we'll talk about later in the negatives. So moving on from the fun of the combat, how's the story? It feels a little dated, but you get a detailed cutscene at almost every major quest hand-in, which does help keep the level and experience flowing. You start out by completing your race quest as you move through the story. It takes you through combat, gets you your first mount, leads into you getting your first glider, and gliding feels great, and you glide around the world, launch yourself up into the air, fly around, and it feels like you're flying around this world. And I think the story does a good job of moving you through the world on like a journey, like you're on like some quest through the world, and that does feel good, and it is lost in a lot of new MMOs. But yeah, I think the story is a little dated, but does the job. So overall, this sounds like a good game, right? I've said a lot of good things about the game, and I do think it's deserved to say the good things. And I wanted to make an in-depth review of the game. I wanted to get into the late game, do the labor systems, try out housing, and all these cool things that I saw people talking about and offered on the website, and all these cool things that I like about MMOs. But I'm struggling to play the game, and I'll explain that here. There are multiple times playing this game where I just hit the point of burning out and logging off. The paywall after downloading the free game made me delay it by a few days, because I was just thinking, do I really want to cover this game? The boosted one-hit kill combat just ruined the complexity of the classes for me. I would spend a few minutes looking at different skills and then just get bored because I'm just pressing one button the whole time. There's a part of the tutorial that takes you to a thing called Mirage Island, and it's basically like a tutorial island. But rather than give you tutorial quests, there's a library, and the quests just say, go to that bookshelf and read the book on enhancing. Go to that bookshelf and read the book on combat. Things like this. And that's not a good way to do a tutorial. So I was just hit with the point with, if they're not going to teach me, I'm not going to learn it. And I just skipped over things, and it didn't feel very good as a new player. A lot of it felt like assumed knowledge, or you just had to stop and read books. Not a great way for a new player. But that's not the main issue I have with the game. It's not the combat, it's not the cash shop, it's not the systems, it's not the overpoweredness. I'm sat here at level 30. I've been through 10 different towns. Some of them are huge with loads of shopkeepers and depth to them. I think the towns do look pretty for the age of the game. I've progressed the story. I've watched all the cutscenes, and I've barely seen another player in this game. The game feels dead. The major cities are deserted. The quest hubs are solo experiences, and I feel like I'm recording a Josh Strife Hayes Dead MMO video. I played this game on 5 separate evenings, and each time I found myself wandering a huge world alone. and it didn't feel fun. And for that reason, I just don't want to log in anymore. So yeah, update. It's been about a week. I had a month sub. It's been about a week, and I haven't logged in. I have no motivation. I logged in just before making this video to try and push through. I moved through the town, saw no one, one hit killed a few mobs, got about 3 levels, and I can't play this game anymore. I've tried my hardest, but overall, should you play Arcade Unchained in 2022? It's hard. It's hard to recommend this game. I felt the game pushing me away more than I feel it dragging me in. I pushed through not because I was having fun, but because I wanted to make a good review of the game. And even then, I've hit a point where I just can't bring myself to play. I want to see the crafting, housing, ocean stuff, tell you about labor system. I've completed tons of quests. I've glided around this dead world for hours, and I can't bring myself to log back in. I think they need to revamp the fast server because it isn't great. And just give the user experience a polish. I don't want to be handheld, but don't just throw everything at me on the first day. Flesh out your quest series into the tutorial campaign. Maybe cut down on them. If you've got 100 quests and people are going to be over leveled by 5 quests, just cut some quests maybe. I really want more people to give this game a try, and I want people to try this amazing class system because I think it will hook people and bring people into the game and give it the boost it needs. But given that you just get to the login screen and it's locked behind a sub, I cannot recommend you to go try it. If you ever see them revert this from a sub requirement, I 100% think you should give this game a go. Hopefully, if there's enough hype around the game and there's a free element to it or a free weekend and there are people running around and you can play this game like an MMO and you get to try this system and you see everyone else using their skills, I think this could be a great game. But roaming around a dead world overpowered while still being in what feels like a tutorial zone after 10 plus hours, I can't recommend this game to you guys. I really, really can't. There are plenty of other better MMORPGs out there, and most of them, at the very least, are either free, have a free trial, or have a smooth user experience. So I'm sorry, give this one a miss for now. I wanted this to be a very good in-depth review. Unfortunately, it's not. These are just my opinions, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments. If you like this style of unbiased MMORPG content, consider subscribing for more. If you do think I should push through and, you know, level 50, level 60, endgame of this game is phenomenal, and there's a reason I'm playing this completely alone, and everyone's somewhere else, let me know, because I want to play, I want to get further in the game, but maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let me know in the comments if you're a long-time player. Other than that, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.